It's the battle of the processes. We're talking Celtics. We're talking Sixers. Sixers obviously stomp the Celtics. But let's really get into it, man. Let's really turn this up. This is your boy PK, Woody City Breeze. We normally talk Chicago sports, but today we're talking national sports, man. Listen, uh, the process for the Celtics may be coming to an end, and the reality of it is the Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown scenario has been one that's been a blessing and a curse for the Celtics. It's been a blessing during the regular season when you have 82 games and you're sitting there grinding it out and can lead you to a top seed within the Eastern Conference. But it's been a curse in the sense that when the pressure is on, the defense turns up, you find yourself against really good teams, late game situations. You don't know how to respond because you haven't established how you use those two in tandem correctly. And that's the biggest thing I've seen out of all the playoff games, regular season games that I've had the chance to witness of this Boston Celtics. They absolutely do not have a good game plan late game to get both of those players cooking at the same time. And that's the problem. Trust me, as a Bulls fan, we had those problems with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine early on. They carried on and persisted through most of the season. So I absolutely can relate to what's happening there. However, it's not something that I would absolutely sit there and say has been resolved here. I look at this game and I look at why the Boston Celtics lost, and I absolutely put it on Jayson Tatum. I looked at that game and I saw bad shot after bad shot from Jayson Tatum. I saw someone who at the time that I really started paying attention. I'm watching the game. Don't get me wrong, but by the time I really started paying attention to how many shot attempts he put up, he was like 8 for 23 at that time. He ended 11 for 27. That's not a good stat line, especially when you had Jaylen Brown on the other end being more efficient realistically. And I keep going back to this. How do you honestly continue to go along with this if you're not going to use them appropriately? And at this point, you can't, there's a lot of different excuses that go into why they haven't worked, different coaches, stuff like that. But now it's been three different coaches, if I'm not mistaken. And again, it shows up when it does show up. It looks nice. They're dangerous. This, that, and the other. I get it. I get that you hope that it turns. That's it. They flip that switch, but because it doesn't happen on a consistent basis, especially when you face good teams and you get down late game in those late game scenarios, because it doesn't seem to work out. You can't tell me that three coaches couldn't figure that out. You can't tell me that three coaches. And what I mean by three coaches, obviously Ime Udoka, that's Brad Stevens had him. And then obviously we have your coach now. Haven't figured that out. At a certain point, you have to realize maybe you're trying to force something to fit that may not fit. We go back to the last game, the overtime game. Jaylen Brown barely touches the ball. When he does, barely gets any shot attempts. That's not supposed to happen with your premier players. That's not supposed to happen that way. But yet again, and yet and still, you find another game in which that has been the case. It's not working the way that you all think it will work. It's time to sit there and either A, get the right people there to make it work, or in my personal opinion, just be prepared to move on. And honestly, they should have traded him for other pieces to shore up and build a better supporting cast around Jayson Tatum. If that's who you're going to go with, I personally think that Jaylen Brown should be the person you go with because on both ends, he just seems to be he's more efficient. He attacks the rim better. He doesn't get the superstar calls like Jayson Tatum does, but in my opinion, Jayson Tatum is not necessarily a superstar. I wouldn't make it. He had a good season. He averaged 30, or close to it, whatever it was. He had a good season. But I'll be honest with you. And when it matters the most, playoff time, I look at Jaylen Brown and I say, hey, when you get him going, they have a better chance at winning, in my personal opinion. Like it has, like, and listen, hometown faithfuls, you all may absolutely sit there and say that man has no idea what he's talking about. That's fine. I don't care. Guess what? I feel the same way when people talk about the Bulls. However, everyone outside your city, everyone outside that little corner that y'all stay in, everybody's looking at that like, hey, that ain't working. You might want to rotate some of them people right there because that's not cooking right there. That's not efficient. If you all want to sit there and tell me that your game plan is watching Jayson Tatum jack up shot after shot, go 11 for 27, you call that a good game just because he had 35 points, guess what? I could go in and play some way back in the early 2000s. He fit right in. Let's just put him in a space where efficiency didn't work. Oh, he had a couple other good games. I get you. I totally understand. He did have other good games. He hasn't been completely trash this particular playoff run. But when it mattered most, what has not happened, either he hasn't made the decision to, coaching, whatever, is getting the other people involved. I saw them run the same play on the same side of the court multiple times with Jaylen Brown on the other side of the corner. There's no way in the hell he's supposed to be over there. It's not. And if that is the design, there's no way you don't get him the ball because a lot of times he's open. It's not how that's supposed to work. That, but maybe that's how you all like to play basketball. Maybe that is exactly what the Boston Celtics want. They want to sit there and have the weapons on the floor just in case, but never use them. But hey, it doesn't make sense. It's not working. And I absolutely see him making a move. Heck, come to the Bulls. Since we just putting stars on stars and come to the Bulls. Why not? Because at this point, that probably won't work either. The way that has already turned out. But go ahead, because it's not there now. Here's the interesting thing: Celtics could still win this particular series, and I could absolutely eat every last one of these words. But you know what? I still stand on that those two don't need to be on the same court together if you're not going to utilize them right, and it hasn't worked perfectly at all. Just because it's worked in spurts, just because you found certain rotations to maybe allow one to take over late game, no one's and they've had more time than not to figure it out. In fact, I'll give you another example. I'm gonna go out so it's not so personal for you Boston Celtics fans. Hey, everyone cooked Kyrie and Luca for losing games after he got traded there. By the way, they had less than half of a season, and then even with injuries, they had less than let's say 15, 20 games, right? Everyone was cooking because they was losing a lot of games. Late game situations, trying to figure that out. Looked a lot like the Boston Celtics, if you ask me. Guess what the difference is? They had less than half a season. This has been years. It's been years, three separate coaches. It's not working. It's not working. Keep that same energy there. Hey, you know what? It's been some other trades that happened. KD goes with Devin Booker. Hey, they didn't necessarily. They were trying to figure that out, right? But they were still winning. You want to know why? Because they somebody figured out. Hey, I got to get this guy the ball. I gotta get this guy the ball. This guy takes pressure off of me. So let me get him the ball. When he's cooking, hey, I got the floor. It opens up for me, especially late game. They start to figure that out. They're playing now. They may actually beat Denver. I actually feel better about them beating Denver than the Celtics, who, in my opinion, should be the better team than the Sixers. I have a better feeling of the Phoenix Suns are going to beat Denver than Celtics beating Sixers, and that shouldn't be the case because this shouldn't be something. Joel Embiid being injured should have been a hey, let me get this easy one, and it didn't happen. Why? That's not all on Jayson Tatum, but at the same time, there's no assertiveness to make sure that stuff got done. That's no one got it done. It's not working. It's the epitome of God. It's not even mediocrity. I don't even know what to call it. But at this point, it's like you're just so happy that you're late game. As long as we make this the ECF, we're good. That's what it feels like. Something has to shift there. But I want to hear your thoughts, man. I want to hear what you all have to say because I can sit here and cook them all day because I've been saying this for a long time. I like what they tried to build. I like what's going on there. I like the other pieces they put around them. But Marcus Smart is not a real point guard. Time Lord is not the center they need. Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown don't know how to figure it out late game. Guess what? You probably should have leveraged one of them to get the other pieces you need and made a decision. It probably would have worked out better. Just saying. Anyway, listen, it's your boy PK. Listen, if whether it's love, whether it's hate, put it in the comments, man. I'll be in there with you. Hey, bring it. I want the smoke. We're gonna be talking some national stuff. It's playoffs. Bulls are not in it. I might as well talk trash about everybody else. You might as well talk trash with me. Till next time, y'all.